Good morning. I can't tell you how much I appreciate y'all showing up um, in these mornings. And if you're not showing up in the morning, that's okay. I just call it the Monday morning check-ins. That's when I'm releasing these. But as I discussed last Monday, I'm kind of changing the format, and I wanted to I think as I got involved in the policy work, I moved away from the basics of what enabled me to even begin to consider being in the policy work, right? And so I wanted to go back to the basics and really kind of hone back into where I was, the space I was in, and to help other folks in the space that I was in before I was able to get into this person that you know me now. So, um, as I talked about was, when I first started doing this work, I came out of a 12 to 15 year period of drug addiction, trauma, not really being able to believe in myself. As a matter of fact, um, you know, it sounds like an exaggeration, but there were at least 1,000 jobs I applied for, if not hundreds. And all of them I was qualified for, but my background, having been to prison, being on parole, having been convicted of a violent crime, always precluded me from being able to um, get those jobs, right? And so, what happens is you began to think a certain way, right? At least I did. I began to think that I was, because I had killed someone, because I'd been in prison, that I deserved exactly what I was going through. And, there's a quote by Henry Ford that says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, in both instances, you are correct. It is the thinking that makes it so, right? And so, since I was convinced that I was not worthy, since I was convinced that I was not going to achieve anything beyond what I was doing, then that's where my mind placed me. So, without getting, and I guess at some point I should go into my backstory, but I won't use this time to go into my backstory. I want to concentrate on um, getting you some information that's going to help you your week, right? So, right around 2011, I had left the music industry. Some things that happened between, some partners, and things went afoul, and I left the music industry, and I ended up moving from Austin to Fort Worth. And I decided I was going to live this normal life, right? And I went to work at this antique mall, and I'd never worked in antiques before. Um, I didn't care about thrifting. I just needed a job because I was on parole, right? And parole mandated that I have employment, but I was unemployable. So I ended up getting recruited to be a cashier at this antique mall. And I won't lie to you, it was a very, it was, Fort Worth is a racist city. The people that worked at this mall were old and racist. I was the first black person who had ever been a cashier there. I was the first man who had ever been a cashier there. And so it was just a very trying situation. And, I'm not a drinker by any means. And folks who know me know I have no interest in drinking. It got so bad that I was taking shots of tequila uh, before work. And um, I used to drive past my job as if I didn't have to go in there, right? And I would turn around, of course, go to work. So anyway, during my time there, I ran across this older white woman, and she would see me angry every day. I was mad. I was losing my wife at the time. I was losing. I had lost my children in a custody battle. I had lost relationship with my family, lost relationship with my mother. Uh, My truck had been towed. There was just a whole litany of things that were happening. And I remember her saying to me, she pulled me over, her name is Cindy. She said, Lewis, you know, well, at that time I was Louis. Um, I wasn't Lewis yet, and that's a whole different story. She said, Louis, you know, there's this movie I saw, and it talks about, you know, whatever you think, that's what you um, create. And I looked at her and I was, I mean, I'm mad. I'm not that. What? Okay, whatever. And she said, I don't know how to explain it, but it's called a secret. And so, um, at that time, I was at a high level of teachability. I was willing to learn. And I went on YouTube and I found a 20-minute trailer of the movie The Secret. And I watched that trailer for 2 months, and that trailer really um, became the mustard seed that allowed me to, I hate to use the word success because it's not a destination, it's a process. It allowed me to redefine success, right? And um, one of the first things I learned is, Napoleon Hill said, whatever the mind can achieve and bring itself to believe, it can achieve. And in that statement, that's where it all began for me. That's where it all began to make sense. That's where the pieces all began to come together. Um, because I hadn't been able to achieve, because I hadn't been able to conceive anything that I could believe in other than what I was doing. And when I lost what I believe was my purpose in life, which was being in the music business, that destroyed whatever belief I had. But in that moment, um, I began to latch on to the concept of the law of attraction. I began to be willing to learn about it. Um, and whatever the mind can uh, conceive and bring itself to believe, it can achieve. That became my mantra, right? And that began to wake me up in the mornings. And I began to, they say the teacher will appear when a student is ready. So finally, I downloaded the whole movie on my phone, and I watched the whole movie. And I used to watch it, and I watched that movie for, I know, a good year every day. I didn't watch the whole movie every day, but I would watch at least 20 minutes of it every day. And that's when I got introduced to Lisa Nichols. I got introduced to, um, and I'll put a link in the description for The Secret. There was a lot of thought leaders at the time I got introduced to, which led me to other thought leaders, which enabled me to begin to see myself in a different light. Right. And so, anyway, this is Monday Morning Check In. My name is Louis Conway Jr. If you haven't done it, that's kind of going to be the energy that I want to share on Monday mornings. To get your week started and also begin to recalibrate how I am helping people get through their situations. It's not always about policy. And you know, I think because I've been working in policy for so long, the last 4 or 5 years, that's kind of where my head is. But I want to get back to what got me in a position to be able to think like that. All right, so that's what Monday Morning Check-ins is about. I appreciate you showing up. Please like, subscribe, and share if you haven't done so already. And yeah, check out the other videos. There's a lot of information that you can get on this channel. All right, I appreciate it. See you next Monday. Have a good one.